bizarre case to bring you now involving a doctor and a disguise. This in the screen is Thomas Kwan. Well, that's what he normally looks like. He actually changed his image in an attempt to kill with a fake COVID booster jab. Take a look.
This case has left many people in shock. Why would a registered GP, a registered doctor in the UK, disguise himself to be a nurse in an attempt to murder somebody? If you really want to know the terrifying details, stay tuned. Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Struck Off, a series on this channel where we discuss things that health professionals did that nearly put them in trouble, or things that health professionals did that put them in trouble, and then we'll pick a few lessons from these stories. So guys, this is Mr. Patrick O'Hare. Mr. Patrick O'Hare is 72 years old. So early last year, Mr. Patrick O'Hare rushed to the Royal Hospital Emergency Department in Newcastle. Why? Because he had received a COVID vaccine earlier in the day and he realized the injection site was quite painful. So he went to the ED, he complained, they gave him some painkillers, and then they said it's just some clumsy vaccine, right, or jab. So they told him to go home after they gave him the painkillers, and then they asked him to come back if it should get worse, right? So he went home. He did have to come back to the ED because it actually got worse. He came back. Now, the injection site had now formed blisters and it was seriously discolored. So this was quite strange. I mean, why would you receive a COVID vaccine or a booster and then there are blisters all over your arm and then it's discolored? It was even very serious because it looks like something was eating his flesh and this thing was actually spreading to other parts of the arm. So they took some blood samples, they did some investigations, but nothing really came out of it. So he was eventually diagnosed with what we call necrotizing fasciitis. This is a real life threatening flesh-eating disease, and this was just centered around the injection site, okay, and it was now beginning to spread. So they now realized that this could not have been a COVID vaccine, right? This is probably a toxic substance that had been injected into Mr. Patrick O'Hare's arm, which was quite strange. So they had to do surgery. That's how bad it was. He was actually admitted in the ICU because the thing was spreading. It was very bad. His flesh was being eaten up. So they took him to surgery and then they removed the diseased flesh so that it wouldn't spread to other parts of the arm. When specialists came into this, they said it was probably a chemical called iodomethane that had probably been injected into him, because this chemical also causes blisters and then it eats up your flesh when it is poured on your skin. So they're thinking that that's probably what was injected into him. So obviously this will prompt them to do a lot of investigation. So they asked him so many questions and he says that, well, I received a letter from the NHS, right, that I'm supposed to get a COVID booster. So they sent a community nurse. This nurse was called Raj Patel. It was a male nurse. He's an Asian. He even has an Asian accent. And then he came to my house. He spent about 40 minutes. He even took my urine sample. He even took my blood sample. And then my partner, who was also in the house at the time, also even complained to this nurse that, oh, she's not been feeling well for a while now. So the nurse, Raj Patel, even checked my partner's blood pressure as well. And the thing is, we've been receiving letters from the NHS or from the trust to say that I need to get a COVID booster. And even the day before, they sent me a text message on my phone to remind me that they are sending a community nurse to come and give me the booster in the house. But when this nurse came to the house, I even told them that, oh, I received the booster, the COVID booster, less than 3 months ago. But the nurse insisted that I needed to get it. And I also realized that immediately this nurse gave me the injection or the vaccine, there was some immediate pain. But at this point, it was like the nurse wanted to leave. He was in a hurry. And he told me that, oh, it's normal. After a while, the pain will, will go away. So, and then he left. The weird thing that happened was just when he was leaving, my partner made a comment that this nurse has my son's height, right? And guys, don't forget this comment because we'll come back to it. So who is Nurse Raj Patel? Who is this nurse? So the investigators obviously examined the letters that Mr. Patrick O'Hare claims he had received from the NHS that somebody would come and, give him the vaccine. So they examined the letters and the letters looked so real. The letters had the NHS logo and all of that. But then there was a problem because no community nurse was registered with that name, Raj Patel. The person was not on the NMC register. There was nobody with Raj Patel as a community nurse on the register. So now it led them to think that, there's something fishy going on. So they had to observe all the CCTV cameras in that area. So in Mr. Patrick O'Hare's neighborhood, they checked all the CCTV cameras to see. So they realized that this nurse came from a hotel which was about 10 minutes walk to their home, right? So they checked the car he drove and then they realized that even the car's number plate was fake. The number plate matched the car's make, but the model was different. And the entire time he wore a mask and he wore gloves. When they went to the hotel, they realized that the person checked into the hotel with a wrong or a fake name as well. So now they had to trace where exactly the car came from into the hotel, and it led them to the house of Dr. Thomas Kwan. So now, who is Dr. Thomas Kwan and why would he do this? So Dr. Thomas Kwan is a registered GP. So for those who do not know the UK system, a GP is like a family doctor. So they take care of people in the communities, right? And he is 39 years old. He was born in Hong Kong, moved to the UK sometime when he was about 13 years old. He was put in a boarding school, and then he later went on to do medicine, right? And now he was a practicing doctor in the UK. This doctor was also married with a son. And guess who is this doctor's mother? So this doctor, Dr. Thomas Kwan's mother, was Jenny Young. Jenny Young was the partner of Mr. Patrick O'Hare. Do you understand what's going on? Jenny Young's partner is Mr. Patrick O'Hare, the victim. Jenny Young's son from her previous marriage, her eldest son from her previous marriage, was Dr. Thomas Kwan. But why would somebody want to kill their mother's partner? What for? So Jenny Young and Mr. Patrick O'Hare, they have been dating, or they have been together as partners for over 20 years. That's such a long time. Jenny Young was initially married to this doctor's father, and they divorced about 27 years ago. That's a long time ago. And apparently, according to Dr. Thomas Kwan, prior to the divorce, his mother, Mrs. Jenny Young, transferred £1 million from a joint account that they shared together, Jenny Young and Thomas Kwan's father. According to the Dr. Thomas Kwan, Jenny Young transferred that £1 million from their joint account, which she shared with his father, and then shortly after they divorced, and then she kept the money, right? So some years later, Dr. Thomas Kwan's biological father passed, and then Jenny Young, in her willed everything she owns and everything to Dr. Thomas Kwan's other brother. And apparently this led to a quarrel. Dr. Thomas Kwan was not happy about it. So this is 2 years back. And he even went to their home to confront their mother to say that, "You always tell me that I'm the child who has made you the most proud. Why would you give everything you own to my brother or my siblings instead of me? I'm the one supposed to have everything. Why have you given it to my brother?" So this even led to the police even coming to the house. But Jenny Young did not want to press charges against her own son, because she knew that if she does that, he's a GP and that could affect his job. So she did not want to do that. So she let it go. And then she even changed the will later, and then made her partner the beneficiary, like everything, the house she owns and everything, changed it to the partner's name. And obviously, Mr. Thomas Kwan got to know of this, and he was not happy. He was not happy at all. And it looks like he believes that this was money that probably the mother and his biological father made together, and then the mother stole it from the father, and now you're going to give it to another man. So he was not happy. So for 2 years, from that time, which was 2 years ago, they've not really been in a good relationship, right? And apparently, Mr. Thomas Kwan later, the police realized that he's even been monitoring them all this while. So years ago, he dashed the mother like a laptop, right? And apparently he had downloaded this software on the laptop that he was using to monitor the transactions and everything that the mother was doing on the laptops. He had screenshots of things that they were buying and all of that. So he's been monitoring them for this long. So when the police went to the neighborhood and then they spoke to some of the neighbors, this is what they had to say.
Swamped with just emergency services. And the worst part is you there's something happening, something big, something different, something scary. It's not one of those routine things that you kind of hear. You read news and in other places and you say, oh my God. And to have this oh my God moment in your neighborhood with your neighbor, you just feel a little uncomfortable.
There were tents everywhere and people kind of going into the house. The scale was pretty large, and we were kind of anticipating something big was happening here. But just to be living in that fear, not knowing what it is and how safe we were feeling at that time, it was a little uncomfortable.
So the police also told the neighbors when they finally stormed the house, after they realized that it was him, they told all the neighbors to stay in the house because they were not exactly sure the chemicals that he had in his home. Because if you are able to inject somebody with this, so they saw so many things. They saw a murder investigation manual. They saw so many poisonous chemicals in his backyard. that. They saw internet searches on poisonous and toxic substances, how to make poisonous substances on your own, and all of that. There was so many information, so much information, and this is horrible. Listen to what some of the neighbors and some of his patients had to say after the news spread on TV and in the newspaper.
It come up on the news on Facebook when I was like, oh my God, that's my doctor. And I literally only saw him on the Thursday, and then that all come out on the Monday, and I just couldn't believe that he would actually do that to a family member. I just think he's broke every code there is, hasn't he? Like, he's just broke every law that there is for doctors. Like, you shouldn't do that no matter who it is.
Wow, that video doesn't look at him at all.
So he
Only by the eyes, there's only how I can recognise him. The rest of him doesn't look at him at all.
And how does it feel to know that that's like your doctor?
Yeah, absolutely terrifying. Do watch a lot of crime documentaries and stuff, like usually in America and things, but when it happens that close to home, it's even that bit more terrifying.
So apparently Thomas Kwan says that he did not really intend to kill his mother's partner. He only wanted to inflict some minor pain, and then he knew that was going to, hurt the mother. He did not want to commit murder. He just wanted to cause the mother pain by hurting the partner. And the surprising thing is how come his mother did not even realize it was him. He only noticed the height when he was leaving the house. But when you look at the picture, he had actually disguised himself. He was now, naturally, I think normally he's a bit bald, but when he was pretending to be Raj Patel, he had a wig on, he had glasses, he had mustache and all of that. He looked, he looked quite different, and he faked an Asian accent. I'm sure he was like, my name is Raj Patel, I'm here to give you your COVID vaccine. I'm sure he pretended to be like an Indian or something, and they had no idea. And they're elderly, they're elderly, so they had no idea. And for 2 years, the mother and their partner, they were not really in good terms with him. This clearly shows that this man is evil. For 2 years, he's been planning this. When they looked at his internet searches, this man has been digging and planning this. And he planned it so well, from, booking the hotel in a wrong name and getting fake number plates because he knew that obviously some CCTV cameras may get him, and so many things that he did, right? So eventually he pled guilty, and then he was granted 31 years in prison. And the sad part is he's married with a son, and now this news is all over the place. With Mr. Patrick O'Hare, after the surgery, he got better. It did not spread any further after the surgery. He's doing well. Obviously, I'm sure there will be marks or something. He's had plastic surgery and all of that. There'll be some marks on his arm and all of that, but he is alive. This is what he had to say as well.
First of all, I'd like to thank the judge for that sentencing, and I think justice has been done today. And firstly, I'd like to thank the police and the prosecuting department for the absolute magnificent job in bringing this man to justice. Secondly, I'd like to thank the NHS, especially the RVI Hospital, the consultants, the staff in Ward 47, and the outpatients in the plastics department. Without this, I don't think I would have survived.
So obviously this is a very, very weird story. I mean, it's like a movie, but these are lessons that I have personally learned. I have learned that, see, no matter how well you plan a crime, in this day and age, you're likely to be caught. So do not in the first place. I know it's painful that your mother gave an inheritance that you believe to be your biological dad's inheritance, your biological dad's money, to the partner instead of giving it to you, the child. I know it will be painful, right? But look at how well he planned it. He's probably planning it for the last 2 years. And they found other ways that he intended to kill the mother's partner. Initially, he wanted it to be a meal delivery program where they'll deliver meals so that he would kill him gradually, but he aborted that plan, and then he used the vaccine. And he read a whole murder investigation manual, so he knew how he was likely to be caught so that he would cover his back and all of that. He planned this thing. Look at how he forged the NHS letters. It looked so similar to the NHS letter. He was still caught. So the thing is, you can't get away with it no matter how well you plan a crime. And the thing is, even if you get away with it, right, it's only a matter of time. They will still catch you. In this part of the world, they even have detectives and police force specially dedicated to cold cases that they could not solve in the past. After 20 years, you'll be found and then you'll be sent to jail. I've seen, if you watch crime documentaries, you know that there are people who are just dedicated to solving cold cases, and they do catch them. You understand? So I feel like no matter how much you want to hurt somebody, just let it go. Now, your wife is going to be in tears. Your son is going to see you to be that bad father, and life is just going to be a mess. 31 years of your life in jail. Obviously, you've lost your license. As a GP, I'm sure you're earning good enough money for your family and yourself. You can decide not to talk to your mother for the rest of your life and live peacefully with your wife and your child, right? Instead of doing this. So do not try to plan and execute any crime, any perfect crime. You will be caught. The second lesson is, I feel like we should all tell ourselves that we are not not entitled to inheritance or the money of our parents just because they brought us in the world. I feel like if we put that in our minds, that is how come you're not entitled to anything. Like, we don't have to feel entitled to inheritance or anything. Because he feels that he was the one who had become a doctor, he was the one who was the eldest child, he's the one who deserves it and not. We should not feel entitled. I've seen families where they were so much together, but then the father dies or the mother dies, and now there's a quarrel in the family because of inheritance among blood siblings. The third lesson is that envy and hatred. You know, it says that he left Hong Kong when he was 13 years old. And I strongly believe that, you know, even when the parents divorced, he was probably with his father back in Hong Kong. And the father, obviously, the biological father, who's currently no more, obviously told him very negative stuff about the mother. Your mother has stolen my money, she's now spending with another man and all of that. So from childhood, this child, who's now Thomas Kwan, has always had hatred for the mother and the partner because he thinks that you stole my father's money and now you're spending it with another man. And I feel like as parents, we do that a lot. Maybe Jenny Young was very wrong in doing, if that was really true. But if as a parent, you instill hatred in your child for the other parent, I think it can lead to a lot of negative things. You know, sometimes you might not even be, you know, right. So I feel like anything that makes somebody develop hatred for another family member, I feel like is totally wrong. It's totally wrong. If you're watching me, you're probably someone's daughter or someone's mother or father or someone's brother. You should be careful, you know, especially among family members. And another lesson that I learned is that we should always be cautious of our health and ask questions with regards to our health. I have seen patients who are so knowledgeable about their medication, and sometimes that has also made me kind of cautious. If I'm going to give somebody medication and I have no idea what the tablet is for, I make sure that I just bring out my phone and I quickly Google. I stand somewhere and I quickly Google and read about it before I go and give it to my. Because some people will ask you, what's the pink one for? And what's that blue one? What does it do? Do I really need it? And some people have been on some of their medications for decades, so they know their medications. So if they ask you and you are not aware, it's such an embarrassment. I feel like if this man, Mr. Patrick O'Hare, knew he had received a COVID booster less than 3 months earlier, he should have rang his own GP to ask if they really wanted him to take the jab and why should he take the jab. And I also feel like if he went into the surgery to take the jab the first time, he should question why it is now being given in the house, you know. But then again, sometimes you can't be too careful because he was receiving the letters and all of that, just like the NHS would do it. So then it was difficult. But I feel like as people, we should be more cautious of our health and very suspicious, because this could have also been an error. I mean, imagine if it was something that was going to kill him immediately, like that would be it, right? And the last thing is, I feel like as parents as well, we should not bring out the worst in our children. I don't know, for this behavior, I probably think that Miss Jenny Young did not give that son, Mr. Thomas Kwan, any of her inheritance because he's probably a very greedy and evil man, and she knew that's why she didn't give him any of her inheritance. But I feel like if you do that as well, now you are bringing out the worst in the person. Either you are going to let him hate the other siblings because you gave them money and you did not give him, or you are going to make him hate you. And I feel like sometimes we can avoid all of these things by playing it fair. You know, what do you think? Let me know. What do you think? This is very bizarre. Thank God he was not a black man, because he would have pretended to be, you know, that country. Because every day they mention their name. Meanwhile, they're innocent. What lessons have you learned from this story? People can be evil. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.